is suing his daughter, 20-year-old Crystal Gatewood, and her boyfriend, Christopher Mayer, for a series of loans when they were down on their luck.
Now, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Gatewood versus Gatewood Mayer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Gatewood, this young lady is your daughter, and the co-defendant is her boyfriend. They have a couple of children together. They are not married.
Correct, ma'am.
It is your claim that you made a loan to them,
Yes,
a loan in the amount of, I believe, $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That they were supposed to pay you back.
Correct.
They didn't do that.
Correct.
Your daughter and the boyfriend say that this was not a loan, this was a gift, because they had fallen on some hard financial times, and that you became more and more obsessed with getting this money back, an obsession that rose to the level of harassment. They are counterclaiming, claiming that you not only harassed them, but that you vandalized Mr. Mayer's car.
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
They are 2 and 6 months.
Is Mr. Mayer the father of both of those
Yes.
children?
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I was a forklift driver.
Well, how long ago were you a forklift driver?
A few weeks ago,
And how long were you a forklift driver?
for about 6 months.
And before that, what did you do?
Forklift driver at another job.
Why do you keep changing jobs?
Because Mr. Gatewood keeps calling on my jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's somebody else's fault. It's not your fault that you lose these jobs.
Right.
How much did you make at your job?
I was making $8.50
$8.50
hour.
That's not a lot of money.
No, ma'am.
Can't support yourself and 2 children on $8.50 an hour. So what do you do for a living?
I stay at home with the children.
Well, you can't afford to do that.
Well, right before this job, he had a job that paid $12.90 an hour.
$12.90 an hour, a virtual windfall. You think you can support a family on $12.90 an hour gross?
I think it's a pretty good amount.
And when did you lose that job?
November.
And you went right to work for somebody else?
Yes.
When did they call and ask you for money?
About the first part of February of this year, your ma'am.
Now, if you were working in February, what did you need money for? Look, don't go like that. I don't know. If he's working as a forklift operator at a job that he can support a wife and 2 children, girlfriend, excuse me, why did you call your father for money?
Pretty much he continued to lose every job right around 3 weeks. And each time the boss of the job would call and say, I'm sorry, we have to let you go, but there's a complaint that we got from a person calling in. And
A boss doesn't fire him if he's doing a good job because some stranger calls that he doesn't know and says he's not doing a good job. That doesn't make sense, Miss Gatewood. Okay, so you called your father and said that you needed money.
we actually called him and said, could we stay with you for a while until we got something saved up?
So, Miss Gatewood, so you called the person who you thought was responsible for your husband, I keep saying that, I must be old-fashioned, for your boyfriend losing his jobs, job after job after job. So what you did was call him and say, could we come and stay with you?
I asked for me and the kids to come and stay.
I'm trying to get where you're coming from. You call the person who you believe is responsible for all your bad luck and say, can we come and stay with you? And what did your father say?
He said we could stay for a few days, but he'd like to try to find us a place to stay, for us to be stable.
Okay, and you said?
I said that'd be great.
And?
We went looking for mobile homes. We finally found one that we could buy for $1,000. So he told us that he would get us a loan to help build my credit.
Great. So you went to the bank?
Yes.
And what happened at the bank?
We got a $4,000 loan that my dad agreed he would pay. I didn't have a job at the time. Chris knew nothing about it.
Chris knew nothing about it. When you moved into this mobile home that you found for $1,000, he wasn't going to move in with you?
Chris wasn't any part of the loan. He was going to live with me.
Just answer my question.
Yes, he was going to live there.
Well, if he was going to live there, where did he think that you got the money from?
I told him my dad was going to help us out. That's what we were told. It was going to be a gift.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Gatewood, do you want to tell me your version of what happened with your daughter and this money?
Yes, ma'am. At approximately first part of February of this year, my daughter called me crying, saying that she was being evicted from her apartment. Said they had no money for gas, no money for food. It was snowing. They wanted to know if they could come with me. I said, you and the girls can. That young man can't hold a job. He's not welcome. I got off the phone. About 20 minutes later, I called my daughter back. She was upset. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to help you. It's going to be a loan. You got a tax return coming. You can pay me back part of it this year and part of it next year. At that time, that loan will establish your credit. It will also gain you new residency, which it did. We got a trailer for her, 14 by 70, 1974 trailer. Got our washer and dryer, got our couch, got our refrigerator, and...
When you say you got her, did she go with you shopping?
Yes, we actually purchased the trailer.
The washer and dryer came with it.
The washer and dryer and the couch basically came with
The refrigerator he
trailer.
got from work.
Okay.
For free.
That's
Now,
correct.
you took out, according to you, a $4,000 loan. The trailer was, according to your daughter, $1,000. What happened to the rest of the money?
That's correct. We gave the actual person that we bought the trailer from $2,800
No, we
For
did
what?
not.
for the trailer and all the belongings in the trailer, for the furnishings.
You have proof of that?
All I have is the loan, ma'am.
Well, I'd have to know what happened with the money.
Well, I gave her the cash to help.
Look at me.
I gave her cash so they could pay their car payment so they wouldn't lose their car.
Okay.
That's not
how much,
correct.
How much money did your father give you?
He gave us $1,000 for the mobile home, $500 paid for the washer, dryer, couch, and stove that came with it, and $500 towards lot rent and starting all our utilities up.
So he actually gave you $2,000.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
That's not true, Your Honor. We gave the gentleman $2,800, and the other $1,200 I gave to my daughter. I did not give it to him. I gave it to her in cash.
Okay. Now, they're supposed to pay you back with their tax return, but something happened, Mr. Gatewood, according to your complaint, that irritated you. Your daughter said, according to you, she said she couldn't make the first payment.
Correct.
So you went to the bank and made the payment. That was $300 and some odd.
$375, yes, ma'am.
Then what happened, sir?
From that time, she basically asked for me to pay her lot rent as well. And I promptly went straight up there within the hour and paid her lot rent,
How much was the lot rent?
$300.
What were you doing all this time?
I was working.
Why wasn't your rent being paid?
Actually, he went up there himself and paid it off, and
But
then
why
gave her
wasn't
a
your
phone
rent?
call.
Listen to me. He would not have known to pay the lot rent unless somebody told him that the lot rent hadn't been paid.
Well, our deal
Yeah, I'm
was...
not asking you. Why hadn't you paid the lot rent?
Because I haven't had my first check yet.
So your lot rent was not paid, your food was not paid, if you didn't have any money, so you were using the money, is that right, Mr. Maher, that he gave you?
I never had money.
Well, you were eating, weren't you? You weren't on life support.
She has food stamps that she gets food from and everything.
Why would she have food stamps?
Because
She's
we
on
keep
Medicaid.
struggling. We're never getting
Well,
it.
if you keep struggling, what'd you have another baby for? You think that was going to make it easier?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He doesn't want you to come home with the two children. He doesn't want to be a parent to your two little children.
He doesn't want to be a grandparent either.
Oh, Miss Gateway, you are truly a victim. Maybe you found the perfect foil.
Donnie Gatewood claims his daughter Crystal Gatewood and her boyfriend Christopher Mayer owe for loans. The defendants are countersuing, claiming Donnie put sugar in Christopher's gas tank.
Okay, did you get your tax return back?
Yes.
How much did you get?
I think altogether about $4,500.
And it didn't dawn on you to pay your father back for this loan?
No, we were never told to pay him back.
Well, you're here now. And he must have said something before you arrived here today.
We were told it was a complete gift.
You were told that by your father?
Yes.
So between February and March, when he came to the house and told you that he wanted some money, because that's what you say in your answer, you think he had a psychotic breakdown?
My
How
dad
many you
goes-
think he had a psychotic breakdown?
I think he goes through different moments where one day he wants to be our friend and the next day he doesn't.
That's not be your friend, and one day he doesn't want to be his friend until he grows up and accepts responsibility for making two children and holding down a job regularly. What I'm asking you is if your father comes and says, look, I took out a loan. I need you to pay me back part of it now and part of it next year, and you just got $4,500, why you wouldn't do that? Why you wouldn't do that? It's your money. You're the one who works. She doesn't work. She gets food stamps.
Every time they went to do something with whatever they were doing with the money or whatever, he came over and got her. And they left and did whatever they did. I stayed at home with the kids those times. Never knew anything, never signed
Well,
anything.
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that you never knew anything. I believe that he came and got
Well,
her.
I
and
knew
he
where
wanted
they
to
were
know-
going, yeah.
You knew what they were going. You knew what they were going for, right?
Yes.
It's just that Mr. Gatewood didn't want to deal with you. He doesn't approve of the fact that you made two children. You have his daughter living from hand to mouth. She's not helping herself, but certainly you're not stepping up to the plate and assuming the responsibility of a head of household. So he didn't want to have anything to do with you until you grow up. I could understand that. So he takes his daughter. That doesn't mean you're a defendant, because I don't think that you made your arrangement with him. I think you made your arrangement with her.
I made it with both of them, ma'am, and he knows that.
No. Even you tell me that you didn't make the arrangement with him. You went to the bank with her.
Not initially on the phone, ma'am, but when I went over to their trailer or to their apartment before I went to the bank, I told them that that's what was going to happen. I was going to go
Just
to the bank.
because you told them that that was going to happen, sir, does not a contract make.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
That's a parent saying, this is what you're going to do.
Sure.
And unless you have somebody said, fine, offer, acceptance, then you don't have a contract.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think your agreement was with your daughter. And I don't believe her when she says it was an absolute gift. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come over to the house to try to get payment.
He came over to the house because we quit talking to him. We just wanted nothing to do with him. He started...
Well, why would you have nothing to do with him after 2 weeks before he took out a loan for you as, according to you, a gift for $4,000?
Because...
According to you. Why would you want to all of a sudden have nothing to do with him?
Because they all of a sudden wanted nothing to do with us. They didn't have us come over. My mom never came to see my daughters, nothing.
You're talking about 2 weeks? You're talking about from February to March.
Yeah, my mom would come over at least like twice a week and see them, and she just quit coming over, quit caring.
Oh, you're just a victim. You're a terrible victim. What do you think? You think both your mother and your father had psychiatric problems during those 2 weeks?
No.
Well, what do you think happened?
I don't know. I think they got money greedy and...
Money? They got money greedy?
Yes. I think we deserve that money because as many jobs as my dad has cost Chris.
Miss Gatewood, if you believe the fact that your father caused Chris to lose his job, you better have a head adjustment. He may have convinced you of that, but the truth of the matter is, that's a lot of baloney. A lot of baloney. Do you think I'm a smart lady?
Yes.
They don't keep me around here because I'm 5'6" and gorgeous. They keep me around here because I'm very, very smart. And I have a history with people. Things make sense or they don't make sense. Parents who are faced with the fact that their daughter has had 2 illegitimate children with a man who can't hold down a job, but who seems to be in love with him and seems to at least want to try to make a life with him, don't sabotage that by getting him fired from his job so that their daughter will be out in the cold with her 2 children.
I believe it's a control thing. Like, he always wants to know where I am, everything. He's always tried to bring me back to his house.
No, he's not. You called him and asked if you could come home, and he said you can come home for a while, but I'd much rather see you in your own place. He doesn't want you to come home with the 2 children. He doesn't want to be a parent to your 2 little children.
And he doesn't want to be a grandparent either.
Oh, Miss Gatewood, you are truly a victim. Maybe you found the perfect foil, Miss Gatewood. What you are is a big baby who has babies, but who made an agreement with your father, and then he said, I'm not giving him my $4,500. There's no way. I didn't make an agreement with him to give him $4,500, and you don't have $4,500 because you don't work. And that's what started the problem with your father. Because if you believe that your father was the cause of all of your troubles, you have to be crazy to call him up and to say, can I come home with the girls? So you really didn't believe that because you could have called his parents and said, we're being evicted. You didn't call them. You called the terrible people who were sabotaging your life. Grow up, because your tears don't make it with me. I guarantee you, they shed more tears than you did. No. Bad people. They're really bad people.
If you got
the fact that you picked somebody who can't hold a job and who can't accept the responsibility for children that he made, that's their fault too.
He's there for his kid and he tries.
Well, he shouldn't be there for his kids. He should be working. You're there for his kids. And you should be working too. And in addition to food stamps, as long as you're not married, which is one of the reasons you get food stamps, along with the food stamps, there are federal programs that give you free daycare. Put your kids in daycare and get a job.
I had a bad influence with the daycare one time. One of my daughters got hurt.
Also, somebody else's fault. So get another daycare. I mean, you don't solve your problem by making another baby.
I know.
Maximum limit that you're suing for is $3,000 on your complaint. On your complaint, I'm awarding you the $3,000 because that's the maximum in your jurisdiction. I have a counterclaim. Counterclaim says, Mr. Gateway, that you put sugar in Mr. Marr's gas tank.
That is not true.
Go ahead. Prove it.
We got a call from him about 5 minutes before.
Who's we?
Chris received the call. I was over there and also Chris's best friend. And he said...
But just a second. You were over where?
I was at the house.
But you didn't get the call?
No, I wasn't
Fine,
answering any phone calls.
Fine. Then you tell me what the call was.
Okay, phone rings, I answer it. It's Mr. Gatewood, and he says, well, since you guys aren't going to cooperate with me now and blah, blah, blah.
No, I don't want to hear blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah I can get when I speak to my 3-year-old grandchild. I want to hear what he said to you, Mr.
He said,
Maher.
since you guys don't want to cooperate with me now.
Don't want to cooperate. Those are the words he used? Since you guys don't want to cooperate with me, go ahead.
There's sugar in your gas tank, and I hope it blows up.
So what did you do?
We went out and checked the gas tank.
Immediately hung up the phone, went outside. Me and my friend went outside. I opened the gas tank, see some white substance at the bottom. Checked my friend's truck. There's more on his than mine. I guess he thought I'd bought a new truck. We called the cops. They came over, took a report.
And the cop states in the report that there is.
Don't tell me what the police said. I'll see the police report.
I think it's on like the 3rd page.
Who blacked this out?
The police station does it.
Fill in the blanks. Mayor, that's you. This is what you told the police. Stated that the problem stemmed from a loan that blacked out, co-signed for blank. That's what you told the police. According to Mayor, you have been harassing them for the last couple of days, including calling their home constantly. Prior to calling the police, he was speaking to you on the phone. Conversation quickly became heated and turned into an argument. While they were speaking, you told Mayor he put sugar in the gas tank of his car. Mayor and your friend then checked the gas tank of both their vehicles and saw crystal-like substance, so Mayor called the police. So here, Miss Gatewood, your boyfriend, acknowledges that this was a loan. Now, was there anything wrong with your car?
Yes.
Uncross your hands. You have either the estimate or the cost of fixing it?
No, I don't.
Well, where is it?
I let my friend fix the filter of my car.
So you had no damages?
No, you had to change the whole
I
complete
had to change the
fuel
filter of my gas tank.
Well, where's the bill?
I paid him $100 to go get the filter and fix my car.
So what you're telling me is you have no proof that there was any damage done to your car.
Right.
You owe your father $3,000. Who knows whether he's going to be forever? When people get married in this country today, there is a 52% chance that the marriage will terminate. When people start off like the two of you starting off, the expectation is that statistically you will not know what he looks like in 5 years. Very great. You only have in your life 2 parents. Those 2 people. I would suggest that you think about that. I would also suggest that you think about the fact that certain things make sense and certain things don't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And the fact that he has convinced you that the cause of his problems at work is your father is just ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Now, this is case number 379 on calendar in the matter of Bishop versus Belseth. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
No.
Everybody have a seat except
The
them.
children.
The children.
Bird,
Yeah.
find them a nice place outside, would you please?
Certainly.
I'm about to lose it.
Ah, okay. Come this way, gentlemen.
Let's go.
Are you 2 ladies still neighbors?
No, we are
No.
not.
Who moved?
I did.
Cindy Belseth got evicted from her apartment.
Don't volunteer any information for me, please. I said who moved. That would require a name. Miss Belseth, you moved.
Yes.
You were neighbors for how long?
I moved in February of 2006.
When did you move in?
October of 2005.
And according to what I read, I believe you had duplex apartment. One was on the top and one was on the bottom?
No, it was a 3-floor. The landlord lived on the 1st floor, Miss Belseth lived on the 2nd floor, and we lived on the 3rd.
Now, I have a complaint and I have a counterclaim. Miss Bishop says that you harassed her, damaged her property, damaged her children's property. She wants punitive damages. And Miss Belseth, you say that Miss Bishop damaged your property. You want damages also for harassment and lost wages. Okay, so you moved into the 3rd floor,
Yes,
introduced yourself to Miss Belseth.
yes.
What was the problem with Miss Bishop and her family, Miss Belseth?
From the time that she moved in, there was constant noise, fighting between her and James, stomping across the floor, playing loud music. She's got a loud voice that carries very far. She'd start saying she'd have pictures of me doing stuff like destroying flowers that she planted or something.
Well, let's start from the
That's
beginning.
not true.
You were annoyed because she has 3 little boys that were stomping around upstairs.
Not the boys. She stomps.
And the boys don't stomp.
No.
Boys are okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the problem at the beginning?
Well, I've confronted the landlord several times. I have several letters that
I'd like to see the letters to the landlord, please. Miss Belsack, this letter you have dated December 18, 2005. Miss Bishop and her family didn't move in until February 2006.
Does that one mention Krista and them, or is that on another issue I had?
That there were mice in my apartment. I verbally told Charles when I first moved in I thought there were mice in my apartment. Okay, so this has nothing to do with her. This is about mice. April 21st, 2006. You complained to the landlord about her and her children and their bikes. Then in June again you wrote to the landlord, my lease is coming up for renewal in October. I hope there are no surprises in store for me. Why would you think there are any surprises?
Because of all the defamation of character that Krista was saying about me.
Sounds to me as if you would want to move. All these complaints that you have, August, September, April, and again in September, October. It seemed to me you would want out of the apartment if you were having so much trouble. You had trouble before she moved in, too.
The trouble before she moved in was with the fact that I thought there might be mice in the apartment. There were
I got
not.
you, but you had trouble before she moved in, too. So the landlord wasn't happy with you before. All right. And your counterclaim is that she bleached all your clothes.
She did.
I have pictures of the clothes, by the way.
About what?
The clothes she claims that I bleached, which I did not do. It conveniently was on the same day that the trampoline was destroyed for good. My complaints were, on June 2nd, first, she called the police. We had left to go to the bank. The landlords knew we left to go just cash out
Don't tell me
checks.
what the landlord knew. You left to go to the bank.
She called the police thinking we were going to be gone for a while. I was home. The police come knocking on my door and tell me that they had a complaint that 3 young boys, not of age to be home alone, were running amok through the building from the night before all the way till the morning, and she did not know when I would be home.
Just a second. When you went to the bank to cash your check, what did you do with your boys?
They stayed home with my oldest son. He's 13. I have 13-year-old, 11, and 7.
When was he 13?
In October, sorry.
And when did this happen?
This happened in June, so he was
So
12
he was
at
12?
the time. Yeah.
How do you know? He was 12. Can't
Yeah,
be home
he
alone.
was
Can't
12?
be home alone with 2 young children.
Oh, well,
Keep
the
going.
officer said
Keep going.
that it was okay, but
Officer
anyways,
didn't say it was okay at all.
my first complaint was with the bike. I came home one day from work, and my neighbor had told me that I had better go take a look at my kids' bikes because...
Listen to me. Don't tell me what your neighbors told you. That's hearsay.
Okay. I went into the shed to witness what I was told, that she had been throwing things
Listen
around.
to me, Miss Bishop. You're not following me, madam. You can't get in the back door what you can't get in the front door. You found bicycles broken.
My son's bike was thrown across the shed with another...
You have any witnesses as to who did that?
My neighbor saw her. She was
Just a
supposed to come,
just a
but
second.
her children fell ill too.
Then you have no proof that she did anything.
She admitted it to my landlord and I have it. And she admitted it in front of a housing mediator
second.
when she took us to court in front of him. And I have that notarized.
Listen to me very carefully. You need a witness. Do you understand? The fact that something is notarized merely means that the person who signed it says this is my signature. That doesn't make the testimony true. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. So, do you have any proof that the defendant damaged the bicycle?
Well, I have, all the children had designated spots for their bikes.
Now, Ms. Bishop, answer my question.
And
I acknowledge for the purposes of this question, a bicycle was damaged.
right, it was thrown from its
Listen to me carefully. For the purpose of this question, the bicycle was damaged. Do you have any eyewitness proof that the defendant did it?
I have her property in my son's designated area, and I have his bike thrown across the shed.
It's not proof. Next.
I have a police report, and I have pictures of the police witnessing The trampoline she ruined. She sliced it.
Just a second. You have a police who observed her slash the trampoline?
The police didn't, but they went over to my neighbor who was supposed to be here today.
I'm not going to say this again. I need eyewitness proof to the acts that you ascribe to the defendant. Did the police witness any person damaging your property?
No, they just went and spoke to the witness.
I acknowledge for the
who was
purpose of the
supposed to be
question
here.
the fact that a trampoline was damaged, but you have no proof that the defendant did it.
I have letters.
Ms. Bishop, enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Oh, you are a foul lady, Miss Bishop.
But when
you have a
she-
foul mouth, madam.
Yeah.
Nasty. Nasty lady.
And later today,
Well, there must have been something that happened that you folks are not discussing with me.
This police report would probably be one of them.
And what was that about?
I have asked her that many times, and she cannot give me a reason why or why she does not like me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Krista Bishop says former neighbor Cindy Belseth vandalized property belonging to her and her children. Cindy is countersuing, claiming Krista vandalized her property.
Get to your counterclaim. You have any witnesses that allegedly saw Miss Bishop throw bleach on your clothes?
I have a witness here that was with me.
Step up, sir. Who are you?
My name is Robert Norwood.
Do you remember an incident involving the clothes?
Yes.
When did that happen? Look at me. Don't look at the paper.
No, I'm just trying to think of the exact date.
Do you remember the month?
It's like around in between June and October.
Listen, you are not a judge, is that right?
Correct.
If you're the judge and you ask me to tell you about an incident and you want to rely on what I'm telling you about everything that you remember, and you cannot even remember the month within 5 months of what you saw, would you rely on my testimony?
I would have some questions.
That's absolutely right. You still want to tell me what you saw in June, October?
From what I've witnessed, yes.
Only about the clothes.
As far as the clothing part, what I witnessed...
Look at me.
As far as the clothing part, what I witnessed was something being thrown from above. Now, a couple of days later, when I came back to visit, they showed me clothing that had bleach on it.
Okay, so you didn't witness anything. So when you came back a few days later, they showed you in the apartment that there was bleach on the clothes. Is that right?
Correct.
Very good. You can have a seat. Listen to me. Go and be... What?
I have a tape of her threatening me and harassing me.
She hides
good.
tapes, which
Good.
is...
I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear her threatening you and harassing you. I'd like to hear what she said. Oh, you are a foul lady, Miss Bishop.
Well, when
You have
she...
a foul mouth, madam.
Yeah, I do have a foul mouth.
You do have a foul mouth.
When my son's stuff was destroyed,
You
I did
have a foul mouth,
mouth.
Miss Bishop. I don't care whether your son's bicycle was destroyed or there was...
But I
on
never
the
threatened her.
trampoline.
I just asked her to come outside.
You didn't ask her to come outside.
there is-
Listen to me. Listen to me. Nasty. Nasty lady. Case is dismissed. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And I had called the cops.
You know, bad things happen to bad people.
And the cops went up to her and told her to quiet down.
Karma will get her in the end.
And this is what started everything.
She's just a mean old lady. That's what it is.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Campbell versus Campbell Shelton. Step forward.
Linda Campbell is suing her son, 22-year-old Gary Campbell, and his girlfriend, Shannon Shelton, for rent, an electric bill, and the cost of an eviction warrant.
Mrs. Campbell, this is your son,
Yes,
and this is his current girlfriend.
yes,
Your complaint alleges that the two of them owe you a small amount for rent,
yes,
for an electric bill, and for the cost of getting them evicted when you wanted them out of the rental property. Your son says that he paid his rent while he lived there, with the exception of 2 weeks when you were harassing him, that the electric bill was paid, except that when you were trying to get him out of the apartment, shut off the electricity, and he doesn't even address the issue of the eviction warrant. Mr. Campbell, tell me about the apartment that you were renting from your mother.
It was just a one-bedroom apartment.
In what kind of dwelling?
It was next door, probably 100 feet from my parents' house.
And what was the rent arrangement?
$500 a month.
Which included what?
The water bill.
What month did you move into the apartment?
July 1st,
What month did you move out of the apartment?
September 20th.
Did you pay July's rent?
Yes,
Did you pay August's rent?
yes,
Did Did you pay September's rent?
No.
Why hadn't you paid rent September 1st? Mr. Campbell, there's an answer to that question. I know you're going to give it to me. Why hadn't you paid rent to your mother September 1st?
Well, because she come over to the house saying she wants us out. So I said, either I can't give you any money if you want us out. I need to find another place. You know, and I offered to give her the money. I offered to give her some money for the electric bill too, and she didn't want it.
Why did your mother say she wanted you out if you were paying rent and if you were good tenants?
The only reason I can think of is because she said she didn't want me with the girl that had a kid that wasn't mine.
Is that what you told you?
Yes.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Campbell, there had to be another reason other than non-payment of rent for you to want them out of the apartment. You want to tell me why you wanted them out?
Yes. It was never paid on time. They would pay me like $250 and would be promised to pay the other $250 at the middle of the month, which it would always be like the end of the month before I would ever get it.
Now, if you think that as a mother, I'm accepting your statement that they paid the rent but not on time as a reason for evicting them, I don't buy that. I'm just telling you. I don't buy that at all. I've had my children living in places that I owned for a very long time. Not only wouldn't they even consider paying me rent, but if they did, which would have been lovely, if they were a little late, I wouldn't have evicted them. So there had to be something else unless you're not a normal lady. So you want to tell me why you got a bee in your bonnet in September? Go ahead.
Shannon had lost her job basically because she would not find child care for her daughter. And I had questioned them of whether they had prepared for this, because they had a young lady that was keeping the little girl, but she had to go back to school. Once school started up, they had no one. Gary had come to me and asked me, would I keep her? Twice. I said, no, it's not something I'm going to do. And I assumed she was fired from her job because she couldn't show up because she had no one to keep the child. And she just sat there for week upon week without a job.
That is not true.
So?
And on what he made, he cannot fulfill the obligations that they had without Shannon's help of income. And to me, it looked like she was doing nothing to try to do anything about getting a job.
So you were being judgmental about their lifestyle?
Well, not necessarily that. If I was being judgmental, I don't think I would have ever allowed them to move in the first place.
Well, you were judgmental about their lifestyle because if your son decides, well, I don't care, if she wants to stay home, let her stay home, I'll get 2 jobs.
They weren't paying me. It was sporadic the way they were paying me. They never had any food in the house for Jordan, the little 3-year-old girl. She came to me and told me, my mom hit me in the face today and made my nose bleed. And Shannon was standing right there when Jordan told me this, and she did not deny it. And she said, did you tell them what you were doing, that you were smart-mouthing? And she says, Mommy, you shouldn't have done that.
Ms. Campbell, is it a fair statement that you think your son made a bad choice this time? Sure it is. Okay, now, when was the electricity shut off?
The Friday before we moved out, so the 16th, 17th of September.
How did you shut off the electricity, Ms. Campbell?
It was in my husband's name, and when they moved in, I said just leave it that way to try and help them out as far as deposits.
You mean you just called the company and said shut off the electricity?
They had called me twice in 2 weeks about the electric bill not being paid, and I was tired of being harassed.
Did you shut off the electricity before or after a judge signed the eviction warrant?
Before.
Just a couple of days before.
You can't do that. Law doesn't permit you to do that. That's harassment. If you've been given an eviction notice that has a date on it and they don't move on that date, then in most jurisdictions you're able to resort to, well, I'm not paying the extra bills on the place. But you can't just turn off the electricity and say, now you have no lights, now you have to move, before you have gotten court approval to do that. You're not allowed to do that. Now, prior to the 16th of September, what was the outstanding electric bill?
$257.21.
That's not true.
What was the bill up to the 16th?
It was 103.
103.
It was due on the 9th.
Has a previous balance here of $231. I believe. I don't have my glasses. I'm sorry.
Can I see it, please? Do you have any checks that you wrote out for electricity?
No, ma'am.
Well, there was a previous balance here of $231.18.
I have receipts for them. I don't have them with me.
Well, you knew you were coming to court today. You knew that you were being sued for an electric bill. Why didn't you bring them with you?
I wasn't told that I needed it.
You wouldn't have to be told that you need it. You're coming to court today. That's what you're coming to court for. You owe them $257.21. You owe that to your mother for the electric. You owe her nothing for rent. She had no right to turn off the electricity. She harassed you. She's not, as a landlord, she's not allowed to do that. You paid the rent for the 2 months that you were living there, and by the 3rd month she wanted you out, and she resorted to self-help, which you can't do. I don't know what, if anything, you could do to repair the relationship that you have or had. What do you think, Mr. Campbell?
About the relationship or?
The relationship that you had with your mother.
I don't know.
Did you get along before you had this young lady?
We both did. We all got along.
Well, there must have been something that happened that you folks are not discussing with me.
This police report would probably be one of them.
And what was that about?
On the 14th, she came over to the house and told me I had to be out by 6 o'clock. This was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Said she would call the police if I was not out.
Did she say why?
I have asked her that many times, and she cannot give me a reason why or why she does not like me. I mean, we've been shopping together before. We've went over there and ate at their house, and just one day, all of a sudden, she doesn't like me anymore. As of 6 o'clock, actually I think it was about 5:30, she came over and started calling me every name in the book.
Got it. Okay, well, listen, in the short time that I have, I'm certainly not going to delve into the pathology of this family. It's just very unfortunate because you've been a good mom, and I can't for the life of me figure out what precipitated it. See if you can find somebody that'll be able to mediate this problem, because before it gets too bad, if you're going to spend, hopefully, I know based upon what is in your eyes with this young lady, a very long time, it would be a really nice idea if you got back together with your folks. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Weir. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Walker, are you concerned about your appearance here today?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
You had the look of a man who had a little bit of a guilty look on his face, sir, when I walked out here. Because the problem that was created here, Mr. Walker, was a problem that was created really because of you. From what I gather, you had a rental property and you rented that property to the defendant. You rented that property to the defendant without your wife knowing about it initially. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this was not a stranger to you or to your wife. I mean, you knew who she was because your wife clearly wasn't happy that you rented an apartment to her. So far, is that correct, Miss Walker?
Yes.
Now, what was it about Miss Weir that you didn't like?
My previous dealings with her. She just wasn't somebody I wanted to live in my house.
What kind of rental property is this?
It's a studio apartment.
Do you live in the same building?
No, I live next door.
How long have you known her?
I met her, I believe, 4 years ago.
How does your husband know her?
Through acquaintances, I believe.
How did you rent the apartment to Miss Weir, sir?
She was referred to me by a friend.
You contacted Mr. Walker?
Yes.
And said you needed an apartment?
Yes.
And he said?
He had a studio apartment for rent. The people had not quite moved out yet, but he went ahead and showed it to me anyway.
Did you know that your wife was not crazy about Miss Weir?
Not at the time, I didn't know.
What happened, sir, when you told your wife about the new tenant?
She said that she did not want her living there and requested that we ask her to move.
You moved in when?
About the 19th of December.
And when did you find out that she moved in?
While she was moving in.
While?
Yes, I seen her go in.
Well, when you saw her moving in, you said, what are you doing here?
No.
What happened?
I went to him.
Ah. And what did you say to him?
I told him I did not want her to live in my house.
So you told him to get her out?
Exactly.
And what did he say to you?
No.
Did he say why?
Because she had a good job, and he trusted the lady that referred her to him.
How long have you two been married?
For 6 years.
So your wife said get her out, and you said no, she's got a good job, not getting her out.
Figured I'd give her a chance, yes.
Well, you did. She wasn't happy. So what did you do?
I let it be.
Now, your complaint is that she moved out owing you rent, she caused damage to the apartment, and she harassed you. Ms. Weir says that you were the one who harassed her. She wants her security deposit back, and she wants her moving expenses back because it was because of your harassment that she was forced to move. That's your counterclaim.
Yes, that's correct.
When did you move?
I actually moved on February the 7th.
Did you pay December's rent?
No.
Yes.
Yes, I paid December's rent.
Shh. Pay attention.
Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Paid December's rent.
Yes.
Did you pay January's rent?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Tell me why.
After Miss Walker had come to my home and threatened me in front of my daughter, I spoke with Lewis over the phone. He said he would take care of Lacey. He would make sure that would not happen no more. I received a lease a month after I rented the apartment, and everything was exactly different than what he had agreed to verbally with me.
So you moved in without a written lease having been signed?
Right.
Why is that, sir?
We hadn't gotten to it. I was at my shop and I was working. She'd come and given me money, and I told her that I would get the lease written out and get it to her.
Not the way to do business, Mr. Walker. She needs a lease. Till you have a lease, you have no agreement. She's a month-to-month tenant. She doesn't have to give you any notice. Now, how much money did she give you in December, sir?
$675. $475 for the rent, $200 for the deposit.
Your Honor.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
That was December, when she was moving in.
Yes.
Yes.
The deposit was actually $400, and he agreed to let me work the other $200 off because a previous tenant had left the apartment with furniture.
Just a minute. You gave him $475 for rent.
Right.
$200 in cash.
Right.
And the other $200 you say that he allowed you to work off.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And you moved out February 7th.
Yes. However, I wasn't able to stay there due to them turning off the electricity and the water for 2 weeks before that.
When did they turn off the electricity and water?
Lacey had the water disconnected on the 31st
Of what?
January, and the electricity as well.
But you had not paid any rent whatsoever for January.
No.
So you lived there for 4 weeks, rent-free. You have no right to cut off water and electricity. You understand that?
Yes, I do. I just figured since she didn't pay rent, is in my name, I shut it off. It's in
Well, you
my
can't
name.
do that. You know you can't do that. You were told you couldn't do that, right?
No, we were not told. We were not told we couldn't do that.
I'm telling you can't do that. She certainly doesn't owe you any money for the 7 days in February that she may have stayed there or had her stuff there because the place was uninhabitable owing to what you did. Did you give her back her deposit?
No, that is for the cleaning that comes afterwards.
No, it's not. That's for damage to the apartment, not for cleaning.
Okay.
You have pictures of the damage to the apartment?
No.
Good. So, from the $475 a month rent that you didn't pay for January, I am deducting her $400 deposit. Anything else you want to tell me? So far, she owes you $75.
Well, since she lived in my house using my utilities under my name, is she responsible for that bill she racked up on me?
No.
She's not.
No. She's going to tell me that the $475 included utilities. You didn't want her there.
I didn't.
And she's not there. Next time you rent to a lady, I would check with my wife, Mr. Walker. Now, you have a counterclaim for your moving expenses and harassment. Your harassment is that she turned off the electricity and she turned off the water. Now, I've already told her she's not permitted by law to do that, okay?
Okay.
I do have a certain amount of sympathy since you had not paid rent for the entire month. So I want you to forget that as a cause of action for harassment. What else?
I have police reports where she's threatened me in front of my daughter. She came to out on her porch and threatened me.
When? Give me the date.
On the 29th.
Of?
January.
Hadn't paid rent a whole month at that point.
But I feel like I had to move because of them.
Who's this friend that we're talking about here?
She's not my friend any longer, my ex-friend. I believe that this friend and Mr. Lewis had a relationship going on.
And that's why
I believe that's what
Mrs.
started
Walker was
all this.
angry?
Yes, I believe that's what started all of this.
That is not true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You're supposed to come prepared. Out! Go! What do they think they're supposed to do when they come to court to prepare? Pick out clothes?
For some, that's the extent of it.
A piece of paper would be nice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lacey and Lewis Walker claim former tenant Carrie Weir owes for rent, repair bills, and harassment. Carrie is countersuing for the return of her deposit, moving expenses, and harassment.
Okay, well, you told the police, Miss Walker, that you didn't like her, you didn't want her there, you wanted her to move out, she had been telling lies about your husband and threatening you, you wanted her out.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you're out, right?
Yes, I am
You
out.
moved someplace else, are you happy?
I'm happy. I'm out a lot of money, but I'm happy.
Why are you out of a lot of money?
I had to put another first month's rent, a deposit.
Well, you have to pay rent anyway. So far, you don't have to pay any more rent here. You owe only $75.
But I was there for a month. That put a lot of extra strain on me.
Happens.
You're right, it does.
It was not a good mix.
No, not at all.
Not a good three-way mix. Maybe four.
At this time, I didn't even know who Lacey was.
Well, when you found out, that was a big problem. And I certainly think that she acted inappropriately. I have no idea whether or not you caused any damage to the apartment. I somehow doubt it. Mr. Walker, very good lesson for you. When somebody moves in, before they move in, they sign a lease. You don't take any money from them until the lease is signed. You don't get busy doing something else and then present a lease with terms somewhat different from the ones you had discussed orally. All that is not a good thing. Do you understand?
Yeah, she knew.
Don't tell me what she knew. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $75. That's what you're entitled to. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, you can't help some people. That's what I feel about this incident.
She's a squatter. She's a mooch.
Mr. Walker here likes to have affairs on his wife.
She does everything in her way to break up a happy home.
Carrie's not never seen me with anybody in any kind of sexual content.
I just think they're vindictive people.
She just was a very hateful lady.
Don't trust your friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harvey versus Jensen. Come on.
22-year-old Sean Harvey is suing his uncle, Paul Jensen, for non-payment of services rendered. Sean claims Paul owes him for 3 weeks of work.
Mr. Harvey, this is your uncle through marriage.
Correct.
He is the husband of your aunt, and it is your claim that you went to work for him in a construction job. You have a girlfriend. I assume this is your girlfriend, and you also have a young baby.
Correct.
And that he paid you by check $2,000 for work that you did, and then stopped payment on the check. You want your $2,000.
Right.
That's your case. Mr. Jensen says you didn't do $2,000 worth of work, that the $2,000 check he gave you was a loan to sort of get you on your feet, and he became disrespectful, so he put a stop payment on the check.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Jensen, when did you first and under what circumstances give Mr. Harvey a job?
It was during a family discussion. We were at my wife's mother's house, I believe, Your Honor. And it was
When?
the end of April, first part of May.
And what was the discussion?
The fact that Sean needed a job and that I was willing to employ him.
Was he there?
Yes.
Did you discuss salary?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And what was the salary?
$20 per hour.
And how many days a week and how many hours a day was he supposed to work?
It was a 5-day, for 8 hours per day.
Okay. When did you first show up for work, Mr. Harvey?
Do you want me to answer that exact question, or I just... He had come
That
up...
exact question. That's what I'm here for. Listen.
The first day for work, he told me I was on the books at $20 an hour, whether I was working or not. We had
Would
a lot of
you
rain.
answer my question?
The first day of work was the Monday after Easter. That was my first day that I was on the books for.
I don't care what you say you were on the books for. I said, what was your first day of work? Now, you knew you were coming to court. You're the plaintiff. It is your claim that this $2,000 was for work you performed, correct?
Correct.
Then you have to come with some information, Mr. Harvey. A tie doesn't do it. You have to come in and say, I started working on May 5th, on May 7th. I worked for so many weeks, $20 an hour, 8 hours a day, 3 weeks. This was my pay. Do you understand? Now, do you need time and a calendar to figure out when you started to work?
I did ask for a calendar previous to come.
Well, then go get it, because I am losing my patience with you fast. You're supposed to come prepared. Out! Go! What do they think they're supposed to do when they come to court to prepare? Pick out clothes?
For some, that's the extent of it.
A piece of paper would be nice. All right, Mr. Harvey, let's go.
Okay.
On what day did you begin working?
April on Tuesday the 18th of 2006.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Well, when did he start?
He came to the job site on Friday, May 19th.
I have a check that he wrote me on May 13th, so I don't know why he would say that I came on the 19th.
May 13th, in what amount?
For $2,000, because I had been working previous. He says that my first day was...
No. Because that's his defense, sir. He says that this $2,000 was a loan to you so that you, your girlfriend, and your baby could get on your feet. Now, what I want to know from you, Mr. Harvey, is when for the first time did you show up?
Tuesday. I had a problem with my car on Monday, and I wasn't able to show up. I did show up the next day.
He says it was a month later, after Easter. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, and I remember it very well because my wife and I were married on May 4th. Her nephew did not start physically working for us until after we were married.
Stand up. This is your nephew?
Yes.
Are you involved at all in the business?
I work sometimes with my husband.
Do you know whether or not your nephew was working for him prior to your getting married?
No, we didn't start work until after we were married.
How many days in total, Mr. Harvey, did you work for Mr. Jensen?
Real days that I was actually there?
Yeah.
6.
Well, if you worked 6 days and you got paid for those 6 days, it would have been $960. Where do you get $2,000 from?
From when him telling me that no matter if I worked those days or not, rain or shine, because we had a lot of rain in May, he told me I was getting paid on those days. He came up to my Nana's house on Easter and told my Nana, my grandfather, I would have flown my Nana out here as a witness, but she has epilepsy. She wouldn't come on the plane. So that's where I figured in, and I kept
You
asking
didn't
him.
finish your sentence, sir. That you were at Easter, you were with your Nana, and he said what?
He said he's going to pay me $20 an hour starting on the following Monday, but I couldn't show up that Monday, so I came Tuesday. So I worked for about a month, and I was asking, where's my
You
check?
worked 6 days.
But like sporadically. There was
you
days
don't
I
get paid
couldn't
when you don't work, sir. How old are you?
22. This is what I was told. He told my family.
Listen
told
to me. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You mean if you decide not to show up? What are you, part of the mafia?
No.
You get one of those jobs where you don't show up for work?
It's what he
You don't
said.
You don't
Not-
show up for work, you get paid anyway?
No.
You got to get a life, sir. You made a baby. You got to get a life.
She was pregnant at the time. I was looking for an
Well,
apartment.
that's not a life. There are other sports.
I was looking.
You're not supposed to get somebody pregnant when you don't have a way to support a child. But you don't say to this man, listen, you're going to give me $20 an hour, 8 hours a day, whether I show up or not, whether I work or not, because I need the money.
I didn't say that. You're right. He told me.
Well,
And he told my whole family this, not just me.
listen to me. When you're 22 years old, you're supposed to work. You're supposed to work.
That's all I wanted to do.
Then get a job where you work. Don't show up 6 days a month and expect to get paid, sir.
Your Honor, may I add something?
Go ahead.
The very first day he could not show up because his car was not operable. That was understandable to me. What wasn't understandable to me, which was one of the reasons that I did not want to even entertain the idea of employing him any longer, was that he was at my parents' house where we met to go to work to the next job. My wife went in, spoke to Sean about him bringing her back to Salisbury. He came out and spoke to me. He was upset about it,
What was he upset about?
that his aunt wanted him to take her back to Salisbury instead of him going to work.
Was he going to get paid for doing that?
Well, if I could continue
Go
with
ahead.
the story. During that time, it was agreed upon that he would take her back, which he did. Later, my wife called my cell phone at the job site saying that she was going to come to the job site and work with me for the rest of the day. Her nephew, Sean, drove her to the job site. My wife got out of his vehicle. As I approached the vehicle to talk to Sean, Sean did a U-turn in the street and drove off without talking to me. If he had showed up at the job site like he did and gotten out and at least talked to me, I would have expected him to finish the rest of the day working. Yes, he would have got paid for that day because that was my
Well, that's
circumstance.
conjecture, sir, and that's something you can't expect
Right,
him
exactly.
to read your mind.
Right.
Go ahead.
But I wasn't even able to discuss this with him because
He
as soon
acted
as
like
my
a
wife,
baby.
As soon as my wife exited the car, he did a U-turn and left.
Okay. Who has the check?
I do.
Can I see it?
Sure. There you go.
So this is a business check.
Yes,
Why would you make him a personal loan on your business, sir?
because that is the only account I had at the time.
Oh.
It was a DBA account, Massachusetts Paul Jensen DBA, PJ
No, it's
Construction.
PJ Custom Construction.
Right.
That's a business check. On what day, Mr. Jensen, did you cancel the check?
It was, again, approximately towards the end of May, Your Honor.
How much after the incident with your wife did you cancel the check?
I would expect it was during the first week after that.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes, Your Honor.
I agree with you, sir, that this money was given to you on May the 13th. He did not cancel the check until after there was an incident with his wife. He didn't like your attitude, so he decided to cancel the check when, according to his answer, he discovered that you hadn't cashed it yet.
He
If
wrote-
you had...
Sorry.
You have to understand something, sir. You're a baby. You're 22 years old. If you go to court and it sounds to you, because you got your listening ears on, that you're winning, you're just supposed to stand there very quietly
Okay.
before you put your... Notice what you want to do. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go. You want to say something?
No, I want you to finish.
Now you're getting smart. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Now it's case number 85 on the calendar in the matter of Carbajal versus Jimenez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Carbajal, it is your claim that the defendant's son, I assume this young man here, was playing soccer where you live.
Yes.
An area that you say where they're not supposed to play ball.
Correct.
And his ball damaged your car.
Correct.
You want his mother to pay for the damages.
Yes.
His mother says that he did not damage your car. And his mother is counterclaiming because she said you've been harassing her family and you videotaped the children, I assume after this incident
Yes.
involving your car. How long have you been neighbors?
I've lived in the property for about 5 years.
And how long have you lived there?
6.5 years.
Is there a common area?
The courtyard.
Is that where you were playing soccer, in the courtyard?
Yes.
Are you allowed to play ball in the courtyard?
No.
So why were you playing there?
Because they wouldn't let me go to the plaza.
Who wouldn't let you go to the plaza?
My babysitter.
So?
So I asked her if I can go to my house and play right there.
How many people were you playing with?
Just me and Omar.
Omar, do you also live in the same place?
Yes.
You know you're not supposed to play in the courtyard?
Yeah.
Yes would be the answer.
Yes.
So why were you playing there?
Because there was nowhere else to play.
Well, you could play in the courtyard. You can be out there, you can talk, you can do your homework, you can text message your friends, you can do a whole bunch of things. You're just not supposed to play ball there.
Yes.
Okay, what happened?
Well, I was taking my 3 youngest kids to go pick up my daughter from her after-school program. And I was walking out and they were playing because the grass area where they play is right in front of my door. And as I was approaching my car, the ball flew over this kind of lattice-styled gate, hit my car and bounced off and went across towards the other street. And I immediately went over and talked to the defendant's
Did you see
son.
what kind of ball it was?
It was like a soccer ball.
So you went over and spoke to this young man here?
Yes, I did. And I asked him, I said, did you know that you hit my car? And he didn't really say much. He just
Is
kind
that
of...
what she said to you?
Yes.
Where was your soccer ball at the time that she said that to you?
It was on the other side of the street.
Did you get the soccer ball?
No, Omar went to go get the ball.
I do have some pictures.
I'd like to see
to
them.
show. Did you want the damage to the car or just the courtyard?
Just the courtyard, please. So, Ms. Jimenez, when the plaintiff came to you and said that your son had damaged her car, what did you do?
Actually, she went over like days later and told me about that my son had hit the car. And I told her that my son wasn't home. So I told her if it was okay to wait until he comes home. And she said, no, it has to do it right now. I said, okay. So I called Omar and I told Omar to go with me to go see the car. So we went over downstairs and I saw all the bumps and stuff that the car has. And then I told her, I said, I don't know if my son hit her or not because he's not here. And I told Omar and he goes, yes, but it didn't hit her car. It bounced all the way to the other side. I said, okay. And he goes, the ball fell on the puddle of water that it was there.
Who kicked the ball when it went over?
Me.
Just a second. You did, correct?
Yes.
Did you see the ball from the time he kicked it until the time it fell in the puddle?
Yes.
And you're telling me that you saw it and it never bounced off something?
Yes.
Yes, what?
I didn't see it hit the car.
Well, because you didn't see it hit the car doesn't mean it didn't hit the car. What you're telling me is the ball was kicked and it went over and the first place it landed was in a puddle of water?
Yes.
Let me see the damage to the car.
I also have pictures of my car to show that it's not in damaged condition before it was hit. Did you want to see? Okay. I also have videotape too.
Of?
Of damage and of the kids playing soccer after the incident happened in the courtyard.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a 93 Infiniti J30.
Okay. So Mrs. Jimenez said her son says he didn't do it.
Well, that's what she said to me. Well, I spoke to her about it 2 days after it happened, and she said that she would talk to her son, and I told her that I would get an estimate and get back to her. And when I did, she said that her son said that it wasn't him that kicked the ball.
Your Honor, when I talked to her, I said, can we wait until my son gets home? That way
Listen
we can...
to me, Mrs. Jimenez. The plaintiff says that at a time when the boys were not supposed to be playing in that area, she saw the soccer ball come over the fence and hit her car and then bounce over. Now just follow this. She looks at her car, then she goes over immediately to talk to your son, which is what he says happened.
Scream.
No, I don't care. Scream, talked, whatever. She went over and she spoke to him, correct?
Yes.
And she said to you, did you know you hit my car?
No, Your Honor.
What did she say?
Said who was the one that kicked the ball?
Who was the one who kicked the ball? And what did you say?
I did.
And what did she say?
That it hit her car.
That's what I said.
But Your Honor, she was inside her car when she was...
Listen to me. What difference does it make whether she was inside her car or outside her car? Just pay attention. Put on your listening ears. You're not listening. Let us say she was in her car and she heard something hit the top of her car. And she comes out, she sees the ball bounce, And she goes over to the boys and says, did you know that you hit my car? Or who kicked the ball? We're not talking about a week later. We're talking about something that happened at that moment. You weren't home. Clearly, a ball hit the top of her car. The moment something hit the top of her car, your son and his friend were playing where they shouldn't have been playing in the courtyard. Clearly. All of these things, life happens with, there's some rhythm to what happens. The fact that this young man didn't see the ball hit her car doesn't mean it didn't happen at all. She went over immediately and said, you were playing ball, your ball hit my car. And he says nothing. Do you understand?
Yes,
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know the law. I said, I think I can take the car to any other place and
You
get an
can't.
estimate.
I don't know where you get that law from. Not in any law school that I know in this country.
And later today,
No. Listen to me. I want to hear the words. And make sure that I get the right words because, you know, I can wipe up the floor with this side of the table as well as I can wipe up the floor with this side of the table.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Carbajal says neighbor 11-year-old Coeli Jimenez damaged her car when he hit it with a soccer ball.
Now, we're talking about a couple of kids playing ball where they shouldn't in a courtyard because they could just as easily have broken a window or hit somebody. There's a reason why communities have rules, and they shouldn't be breaking the rules.
She shouldn't be breaking the rules. She parked where she's not supposed to be parked. Actually, they do let
Miss
kids
Jimenez,
play.
the
Your
car
Honor.
didn't get damaged because it was parked in the wrong spot. Listening ears, listening ears. The car got damaged because your son and his friend were playing soccer in a place where they shouldn't have been playing because it's too confined an area and because that's what happens with soccer balls. You kick them and they go high and sometimes they get away from you. So they say, you want to play soccer? Go to a field. And because you weren't home to give him permission to go to a field, he played in a place where he shouldn't have. Wrong thing to do. Stop making excuses. Stop looking for reasons not to accept responsibility.
I did not say that, ma'am. I told her that I will pay for the damage if he did it, okay? And I told her, I said, I'm going to find out how much it will be for the damage. And that's when I said no, because she told me it has to be here, 1,700 and something. I said, ma'am, I think I know the law. I said, I think I can take the car to any other place and get an estimate.
You can't. That's not the law. The law doesn't say that the person who caused the damage is allowed to take the property to the mechanic of their choosing to have it fixed. I don't know where you get that law from. Not in any law school that I know in this country.
And then I told her, I said, I can take the car anywhere. And she said, no, it has to be here. And I said, well...
well, it doesn't have to be there. And if I feel as if the estimate for the damage is excessive, I will find that it's excessive. There's a difference, Ms. Jimenez, between the amount of the damage and questioning whether you're responsible. My problem with you is that you questioned your responsibility. And your responsibility exists because I gathered that you permitted your son and his listening ears, I gather that after this incident, you allowed your son and his friends to continue to play ball in the courtyard, which is against the rules, which is why she was taking videos. You're not supposed to do that. So your counterclaim's dismissed. She's allowed to take videos to show that you're breaking the rules. Now I want to see your estimate, because this doesn't look like $1,700 worth of damage to me.
Well, they said that you have to take out the sunroof in order to repair the damage, and that's where the majority of the money is in the reinstallation and the dismantling of the sunroof in order to get to the dent.
Well,
Your Honor,
I think that damage is excessive. You have another estimate?
I was unable to get one. I felt that place was reputable enough for me to take my car.
Your car is 13 years old, madam. You should have gotten 3 estimates, not just one.
That's what I told her.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think she's upset because her kids, they always go and grab stuff that they don't belong to them, and I always go and ask her for her stuff back.
The parents are either not home or they're, not present while the kids are out doing whatever they feel that they want to do.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carlson versus Getty, come forward.
Kirsten Carlson is suing the mother of her son's former friend, Janice Getty, for the cost to fix her car. Kirsten says Janice's 16-year-old son Nathan wrecked the vehicle during an ice storm.
Miss Carlson, this is your son. His name is Michael.
Yes.
Michael is 18 years old.
19, actually.
19. And Miss Getty, this is your son who is?
17.
And you're Nathan.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you were 18 and you were 16, you took your mother's car.
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother was home at the time, and you allowed Nathan to drive the car.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
He had no license.
I believed he did at the time, though.
Did you have a license?
No, ma'am.
You let him drive the car, and it was in an accident. And your mom wants Mrs. Getty to pay for the damage to your car. Not only does your mom want Mrs. Getty to pay for the damage to your car, but Miss Carlson, you say that you were unable to work for a period of time because you didn't have transportation, and you also want Mrs. Getty to pay for your commissions that you lost.
That's correct.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
You're lucky I'm even talking to you. Why are you suing her? Why don't you sue him? He's 18 years old. He's responsible for his own actions. He allowed an underage, unlicensed driver to drive your car.
Why do I not sue my son?
Yeah.
Because my son didn't cause the damage to my car.
Yes, he
this
did.
young man did.
Yes, he did. Oh, he did. You were home at the time. Is that right?
Correct. Uh-huh.
How many people were in the house, Michael?
Ma'am, my mother was the only one inside of the house at the time.
Did you ask her if you could take the car?
No, I did not, ma'am.
Why not?
The keys were there. Thought it would just be a good idea to take it out.
Why? There was an ice storm, according to your mother.
Yes, there was.
So that was pretty dumb.
Very dumb.
If you had asked your mother, and if there was an ice storm, would you think your mother would have said, don't take the car out now, you have no place special to go, the weather's bad?
I'm sure I didn't ask those, so I don't know what she would have said.
What do you think she might have said in an ice storm if you weren't going to an emergency room in a hospital, sir?
She would have said no.
Right. So you chose not to ask her.
Yes, ma'am.
Who drove the car out of the driveway?
I did, Your Honor.
When did young Nathan here take possession of the car?
About a block away from the house.
Tell me how that happened, Nathan.
Michael...
is not an answer.
I'm sorry. He drove the car around the block, ma'am, and he was done and he offered me to drive, so...
Well, no. Listen to me. Listen to me. I want to hear the words. And make sure that I get the right words, because, you know, I can wipe up the floor with this side of the table as well as I can wipe up the floor with this side of the table.
Yes, ma'am. We pulled out of Michael's driveway, and he was driving at the time. We took one trip around the block, and he offered me the keys to drive.
What did he say?
He said, do you want to drive? We were basically just having fun, just driving around the block.
But it was an ice storm.
Yes, ma'am.
So why would you get behind the wheel of a car?
I really don't know. It was a bad choice.
Right. When did you get into the accident?
I must have driven around the corner, and I started to turn, and the car lost control, and I ran into a stop sign.
You have pictures of your car?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
No, it hits the down button.
Yes, push the down arrow key, and there are three
Do you
photographs.
realize
of the
I'm
car.
old and my eyesight is bad?
I'm
You can't
sorry.
develop these things? What? Can hardly even see it's a car. Thank you. Okay, so what happened when you had the accident? You went home and did what?
As soon as I had the accident, Michael flipped out, and he was yelling and kind of crying, and that's whenever...
Why were you yelling and crying? You're 18 years old.
Well, I felt, you know, like...
You felt really what? You were about to say something. Say it. Say the word. You felt really...
Angered.
No. That's the word you started to say, Michael.
Yes,
That's the word you started to say.
I felt responsible, and I felt...
Right. You felt responsible. Why? Because you'd taken your mother's car without permission.
Yes, ma'am.
You were allowed a 16-year-old to drive it, right?
I did.
And now you had to go back and tell your mother that the car was in an accident, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what you did?
Well, I didn't let him drive. I didn't offer to drive. He had begged to drive because I'd assumed he had his license, because he'd been talking about getting his license for several months before that, and that's why I let him drive to begin with.
Your mother thinks you're cute, Michael. She's looking at you like she thinks you're cute. I don't think you're cute. Because the word that you started to use before was responsible. You are responsible. Do you know, Miss Carlson, that if this accident had caused injury to this young man, he would be suing you? You know that? If he had been killed in this accident, his mother would be suing you. She would own your house and everything else that probably you've amassed over the course of your lifetime. He's responsible. He's a minor. He's not. He took your car without permission and allowed a minor to drive the car. And what I'm telling you, Miss Carlson, is you're lucky that he wasn't hurt. Because if he had been injured, you would have been responsible. I mean, there's really no difference in what happened here than if you went out and your son decided to have a party and invited several underage people to the house, served them alcohol, and they went out, drove home, got into an accident, and hurt themselves. You know whose homeowner insurance would be responsible for that?
Correct.
Your son, who's reached majority, gave permission to an unlicensed minor to drive the car in bad weather. I mean, when he knew that his mother wouldn't give him permission to take the car, he stole it. What he really did was your son stole the car. Right, Michael?
Yes, ma'am. You should put it like that.
Good. Now that we understand each other, what are you doing with yourself now, Michael?
I'm enlisting in the Navy soon, ma'am. I'm already in, and I'm just waiting for my ship-off date.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Ms. Getty's answer indicates that you have a pending criminal case. Is that right?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
it's not
That
an
would be true.
answer.
Yes, ma'am, that is true.
And that pending criminal case, and I'm not going to ask you anything about it, that pending criminal case is with regard to an assault on your other child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that after this incident?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you allege that's as a result of this incident?
It may have been. I don't think it's a total result of that, but yes, Your Honor, they were at odds with each other.
Well, you shouldn't ship off to the Navy until you get this criminal matter resolved, Michael.
It will be resolved soon.
That was not the reason for the assault.
I'm not going to hear anything because I'm sure that Michael has a lawyer with regard to that case, and Michael's lawyer would not like Michael to say anything to me about it until it's over. Ms. Carlson, your problem is with your son. Your son did the wrong thing. And if your son's going into the Navy, that means, as far as I know, we do pay people who are members of the armed forces in this country. I would suggest that you work out a payment schedule with your son for the damage to your car. Do you understand that, Michael?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
Yes, case number 106 on the calendar in the matter of Welsh versus Mullicky. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Welch, this is your daughter, and it is your claim that you extended a loan to your daughter and her husband when they needed some money. You had an agreement with them that they would pay you back that money at the rate of $25 per paycheck from you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And they paid you back some, then you had an argument, and there were no further payments on the loan. And your daughter says that they did, in fact, one time take a loan from you. They've paid you back in full, and she has no idea of what you're talking about with this other loan of $2,100. Is that right? When was the last time you took a loan from your mom?
Christmas of 2004.
How much was it for?
I can't really tell you an amount because I never received the receipts.
I don't care whether you receive receipts.
I was with her when she bought the stuff, you know. And
explain that to me. You were out shopping?
Correct. Every year, my mother and I went shopping the day after Thanksgiving. We would go through the ads on Thanksgiving Day and decide what we might want to buy our children for Christmas. And we would discuss what Christmas presents she would put on her credit card that my husband and I would pay for later. But I know for a fact it did not total $2,100.
Is this the loan you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. I have my credit card statements.
Can I see them, please? Okay. What was purchased at Steve and Barry's? What kind of store is that?
It's a clothing store, and it was closed for Dana and Trevor.
And what was purchased at Nebraska Furniture?
We had gone there and we had purchased DVDs that were on sale and some other little things.
Toys R Us in Omaha.
That would be mine.
Radio Shack.
That's mine.
There is also a bill here for $288 for ShopGo in October. Do you know what that is?
It's for 2 Christmas presents for my son and my stepdaughter.
How much did you pay back?
Out of his check, we've paid back $575 just from his paycheck. And then also in February of 2005, I had received my income tax check and I had borrowed $25 from my mother. And when I received my income tax check, I deposited $25 plus $200 into her account at that same bank.
Did she deposit $225 into one of your accounts?
Yes, she did.
So then it's
25 of it was for the 25 that I gave her.
Fine, so that's
the other
200.
200 was a $200 toward their car payment because they had not given me the car payment.
Why do they give you their car payment?
Because it's in my name and I want to
Why?
make sure it gets paid.
Why is it in your name?
Because they don't have good credit.
But Your Honor,
Are you paying for the car, by the way?
yes, I have never
Your
missed
Honor,
a payment.
they did not pay me $375. I have the receipt.
$575.
No, they did not. They gave me $300 out of his paycheck.
You have proof
And
that
that's
you
all
paid
that-
her, shh. You have proof that you paid her $575 out of your paycheck?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
I have the deposits right here from my bank. Not all of that money went toward the loan. All they paid me through deposits into my account was $300.
You may say that, madam, but this amount comes up to $575.
Your Honor, we're talking about Christmas presents purchased in 2004.
Miss Welch, I want to tell you something, madam. It's difficult enough to try to ferret out non-familial lawsuits when there are loans. When there's family and you have complicated your financial structure with your children, as far as some are car loans, this is a Christmas loan, you don't expect the courts in this country to waste their time ferreting that out because you had a fight with your daughter. That's not going to happen.
The fight with my daughter, Your Honor, is because of them neglecting their children.
Miss Welch, what I'm telling you is courts are not going to do that. This court is not going to do that. I will take a look at your bills and try to make a judgment as to overall how much of this money was paid back. But if you expect me to go week by week and figure out how much of the $25 went into your bank and how much maybe went into a loan for a car and how much went, just listen to me, it's not going to happen. And if what you're telling me is that the fight with your daughter was precipitated by the fact that you felt as if they were not doing the right thing with their children, I'm telling you that you got to take your nose out of her business.
Leaving their children home alone at night for 10 hours?
Miss Welch, what I'm telling you is you have to take your nose out of their business. And if you feel as if your grandchildren, because of the neglect of their parents, are legitimately at risk, and you've said to your daughter, I don't think it's a great idea to leave the kids home alone. Not a great idea. And she doesn't listen to you, and you have a substantial and legitimate concern about your grandchildren, you call Child Protective Services and let them do an investigation. And the only way you keep your mother's nose out of your business is to not take money from her. How many children do you have?
We have 5 children, Your Honor.
You have 5 children. So you're mature enough to have 5 children. Mm-hmm. I assume that if you couldn't take care of them, then you wouldn't have had them, because that would have been irresponsible, right?
Correct.
But you can't take care of them because you have to keep borrowing money from your mother, which means that you didn't have enough money to have 5 children. So that's irresponsible. If you can't support 5 children, you don't have 5 children. But once you take money from your mother because you're irresponsible, then she feels as if she has the right to say to you, you're not acting responsibly with my grandchildren. But the fact is, you weren't responsible because you had too many children that you couldn't take care of. You say no, I'm saying yes. You're standing there, you look like an idiot. And what you've done is, you've taken a relationship that was a good one, and if your mother said to you, I don't like my grandchildren staying home alone. How old is the oldest child?
12.
And how old is the youngest child?
She's 2.
A 12-year-old cannot watch a 2-year-old.
My 12-year-old doesn't watch my 2-year-old. My 2-year-old's in daycare.
We're talking about when the children were home by themselves.
They weren't home alone at night. We actually took our children to his mother's every single night and picked them up every single morning.
Did you ever tell your
school.
mother that the children were going to be home alone?
No,
she deducted that herself, ma'am.
She came up to that conclusion on her own.
No, they told me that on the night after Thanksgiving when Dana made it my business that he was going on nights the 1st of December. I said, who's going to take care of the kids? We're leaving them alone because Dana can come home from work every hour and check on them.
Okay. I want to tell you that that's wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong. Because if Child Protective Services came 5 minutes after she left and found the 12-year-old in charge of 3 children, they would remove all the children from the house.
Well, they haven't let me see the kids since.
Okay. Well, that's a tragedy. So I'm going to tell you this. The only relationship that you can count on forever is hers.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I gathered that for a long time things were very good. Now you're saying no. No. She's an idiot. Unfortunately, she's your idiot.
And later today,
here's one hole in the wall Dana did. Here's the hole Dana put in the wall when they were really fighting one day. I would get in the middle of it so Whitney.
Just a second.
Oh, I would never get punched.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bridget Welsh says her daughter and son-in-law owe for unpaid loans. Tanika and Dana Mulicki are countersuing for the return of Tanika's engagement ring and harassment.
Listen, she's dumb as this. Unfortunately, Miss Welch, in this country, and I say unfortunately from the bottom of my heart, the Supreme Court has not taken a positive position with regard to whether grandparents have the right to seek visitation with their grandchildren if their children are denying them visitation. If I were the queen of the universe and running the world, it would be different. It would be different because dumb ones like this don't appreciate the fact that children need the widest possible community of love and affection. And even if you're not getting along with your mother, that doesn't mean that you cut your children off from a grandmother who was, for most of their lives, a positive influence. I gathered that for a long time things were very good. No, you're saying no. She's an idiot. Unfortunately, she's your idiot.
Ma'am.
Unfortunately, she's your idiot. You can't tell me things weren't good, madam, because then you would be a taker. Because then when you say to me, I would go shopping with my mother the day after, put your hand down, the day after Thanksgiving every year, that suggests to me that you had an ongoing relationship with your mother. Now you say no.
It was an off and on relationship.
It may have been off and on for you.
And it was off and on for her. She would tell me numerous times to stay out of her life. You're dead to me. You don't have a mother. She told my 12-year-old.
Miss Welch,
she told my
Miss Welch, listen to me. She's doing revisionist history because you're not paying attention. My statement to you is, I don't care what kind of relationship you have with your mother, and I don't care whether your husband has a good relationship with her either. What I'm saying to you is, if you are a good and loving parent, you don't cut your children off from their grandmother.
My son cut himself off from her.
All right,
my
good.
son
Listen,
is 12 years
listen
old
to
and
me.
understands.
Listen to me. I think that they still owe you $1,400, and that's what you're going to get as a result of this lawsuit. Now, you have some property that they say belongs to them. What property?
She's got an engagement ring that was given to me from my ex-boyfriend, who is my son's father.
Do you have an engagement ring that belongs to her?
That ring was given to me, Your Honor, for a loan that I made her.
Listen to me. Listen to me. She wants it back. I don't know why he wants it in his house. He doesn't. But she wants it back.
She also has his Nintendo 64 that we can't replace. My son's that we bought him personally for his birthday.
What was it doing in her house?
He took it there to play it when he'd go to her house because she doesn't have... She lives in an area where he can't just go outside and play with friends. She won't allow him to go outside and play with the neighbor kids because she says everybody uses drugs.
So just a second. So you allowed this child, your son, to take his Nintendo 64 game to your mother's house because he spent time there. I'm speaking. Answer the question.
Yes.
Listen, she's limited. It's not my fault she's limited, and maybe it's not your fault. The Nintendo 64 game, listen to me.
Trevor gave that to me, Your Honor, to keep at my house because he'd got an Xbox and I had also purchased him a PS2.
Listen to me very carefully, Miss Welch. The ring and the Nintendo 64 game up to be placed in a box, mailed back to them, and your check for $1,400 will be held until it gets back to them. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The final straw was when she told my 12-year-old, I'm dead to you and you do not have a grandmother.
My oldest said until she changes and changes her attitude, he doesn't want anything to do with her.
I just hope that the Lord takes care of my grandkids.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benson Hopkinson versus Slintz. Step forward, please.
19-year-olds Whitney Benson and Dana Hopkinson are suing their former roommate, Derek Schlintz, for breaking their lease. Derek says the couple's actions forced him to move out.
Who's Benson?
I am.
Miss Benson, you, your boyfriend, Mr. Hopkinson, signed a lease with the defendant on a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. I assume you had been friends before?
Yes, Your Honor.
It didn't work out, and Mr.
Schlintz, yeah, exactly.
Schlintz moved out.
Yes.
As a result of him moving out, the two of you, according to you, were evicted because you couldn't pay the rent. You ultimately settled with the landlord. You want him to be responsible for half of the fees. The defendant says that he had every intention of being a good roommate, but the two of you fought all the time. There was constant arguing in the house. He felt as if that wasn't an environment he wanted to live in. And the final straw was when somebody went into his room when he was away for Thanksgiving or something and rummaged through his room. How much was the rent on this apartment?
$745 a month.
And how was that rent split?
He paid a half for his room and his bathroom. We paid a half for our room and our bathroom.
When did you move into the apartment?
September, I believe.
September of 05?
It was July.
It was July.
Oh, July.
Let her speak.
Oh, sorry.
And when did you move out?
I moved out on December 4th, 2005.
Why did you move out, sir?
Pretty much it was unsafe. All they did was fight all the time, constantly. I mean, here's one hole in the wall Dana did. Here's what Whitney did. Kicked in the good old-fashioned cabinet. Here's how I left the apartment all the time, dirty. Here's the hole Dana put in the wall when they were really fighting one day.
Can I take a look at those things?
Yeah. Here's when they broke in my room. They broke my plant on my fridge.
When did you take these photographs, sir?
December, right before I moved out.
Who put the holes in the wall?
One of the holes was mine. I tested, yeah.
Why did you put a hole in the wall, sir?
We were arguing one night, and
Who was arguing?
me and Whitney.
I would get in the middle of it so Whitney
Just a second.
Oh, I would never get punched.
Just a
It's
second.
never-
Just shh. Sorry. Did you make them aware of the fact? I mean, slobs are slobs. I assume that you're not so neat either, right?
True.
Did you ever make them aware of the fact that you were acutely distressed as a result of the domestic disputes that were going on in the house?
No.
Well, that's a problem that you have, sir. You have to make them aware of that and allow them an opportunity to correct it before you move out.
That was fine and everything. That really didn't bother me as much. The fact that they broke into my room when I was on vacation.
Well, tell me about
really,
that. Tell me about
I put a lock on my door, and pretty much I came back and things were broken, things were moved. My bed had spilled soda on it.
Did anybody go into his room when he was gone?
I did.
No.
It
For what?
was To get plates and everything. We were cleaning up the apartment.
And it was my own room and my own space, and that's what I paid for, and they weren't allowed in there.
Well, did you tell them that you didn't want them to do that?
Yeah, and that was the last straw.
No, no, no. When did you tell them you didn't want them to do that?
Yeah, I'd like
Go
to
in my
know
room
too.
Yeah.
after they broke in.
Well, that's not good enough, sir. You have to grow up, too. I mean, the fact that the three of you decided to play house together is probably not a wise idea, but you have to grow up. You can't just say, I'm not happy here, and keep that to yourself, and not give your partners, because they were your partners, an opportunity to correct their behavior. You can't just sulk and call your mother and say, come pick me up, I want to go home. This is not a dorm room. This is a lease. You can't be a baby. You can't stick other people with your debt. Can't
I
do
just
it.
didn't think that they should break in my room when I paid for that.
I don't care. Listen, these were your friends. If you needed something in your room, he didn't go in there and trash your room. He did not go in there and trash your room. You say something was moved out of the way, I knew he was there. There was a soda that was... Listen to me. You have to put him on notice. You can't act like a baby and call your mother. Is that what you did to come pick you up? Who did you call?
No one. I went and looked at no apartments.
Who helped you move out?
His
Who
mother, his
moved
father.
you out?
Who moved me out? My parents did.
Right. Well, you can't do that. How much are you being sued for?
Total of $4,470.67.
When did you move out?
We were evicted January 4th. They gave us 3 days.
Why were you evicted?
Couldn't make the payment.
Well, he lived there until December. Did you pay December's rent?
I did pay December's rent. I moved
So
out
why were
December
you
4th.
evicted?
We made an agreement with him after we found out he was moving out. He was going to pay his part of his rent still, and so that's why we continued to live
Why would I
there.
pay rent? I'm not
Just a
living there.
minute. I don't understand, Mr. Hopkinson. He moved out in December. He had paid December's rent. According to you, you got evicted January 4th. January 1st is a holiday. 2nd, everybody's still waking up from their hangover. And you move out on the 4th because you say you were evicted? I don't believe that unless you didn't pay December's rent.
No, we paid December's, and me and her paid January's rent, our part of it. And he was supposed to pay his part, never did, and they served us our eviction notice.
Why would I offer to pay somewhere I don't not living at?
He made
Well, you were mistaken, by the way, as to your responsibility to pay. So I'm here to tell you, you're going to pay because you had no reason that I find valid to leave. Okay. How much was your half of the rent, sir?
$740. I just gave him one check for all the bills. It was $745 divided in half.
And it went through May 30th?
And then when it did go
May
to the,
31st.
when it went to the attorney's office, they did add on
More
attorney's fees as well as interest.
I don't care what they added on. $1,862.50 is what his half of the rent is. Shouldn't have gone to collections.
I offered to pay, but they couldn't come up with theirs, and they couldn't take my name off it.
When did you offer to pay?
I offered to pay right after I moved out. I said, let's buy it out. I mean, we got the notices.
And what did they say?
They said that they don't have the money right now.
We
They
didn't
couldn't
have
do it.
$1,500 to pay for a buyout.
Well, then that's not his problem, that's your problem. You also have a certain responsibility that when you have a roommate, they're supposed to be able to enjoy the peaceful use of their apartment. And there had to be a reason why this guy, who's a friend of yours, moved out of the apartment. There had to be a reason. That's neither here nor there regarding this lawsuit. Regarding this lawsuit, if he was prepared to pay his half to buy out of the lease and you didn't have the money, that's your problem. The fact that they added on an additional $1,000 or $2,000 for fees, that's not his problem, it's yours. He owes you $1,862.50 for his half of the rent for the remainder of the lease. The rest of the problem is yours. That's all.
Now, this is case number 322 on the calendar in the matter of Canberra versus Texera.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Miss Canberra, the defendant is your cousin, and she was kind enough when you needed her to allow you to move into her apartment, according to your complaint.
Yes.
And then, according to your complaint, she unceremoniously told you that you were no longer welcome in the apartment and told you to leave. It is your claim that you left certain property in the apartment and you want that property back. Ms. Texera says that you took everything, practically everything that belonged to you when you left. She has a couple of backpacks or something with some stuff that she's more than willing to give you, but you want $1,000 from her.
Yes.
When did you move into the apartment with your cousin?
It was in March of 2006.
Where had you been living?
My father's.
And why did you leave your father's house?
I was having problems with my stepmother and she didn't want me there anymore.
Had you ever lived with your cousin before?
Yes, I did last summer.
Why?
Problems with my stepmother.
How long did you stay with her last summer?
For the summer, that's it.
Did you pay her any rent?
Yes, I did.
How much rent did you pay her?
$400 a month.
And where were you working?
I was working at Honeydew, AccuBilliards, and PrinceNut.
So you stayed with her 2 months?
Yes.
And you paid her $800 for the 2 months?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Did she pay you anything?
She gave me $40 one time, and another time I think she had like $15 on her, and she gave me $15, and she said, I'll give you money when I can. Other than that, that was the only money I ever received from Kirsten. She wasn't working the most of the time that she was with me. She was fired from her job, so I was paying
That's
everything.
a lie.
Ms. Canberra, you want me to believe that you gave her $400 a month?
Yes, I did.
And you've always worked?
Yes, I did.
Now, you moved in with her in March. Where were you working in March?
At that time, I was out of a job shortly.
So you weren't working continuously?
The last time I just lived with her shortly, and then maybe like 2 weeks after I moved in, I got a job at McDonald's.
How much money did you pay rent at your father's house?
I didn't have to pay at my father's.
So you must have saved a lot of money.
I had a car payment and insurance I was paying, which was taking all my money.
When did you buy the car?
I got the car September 2005.
So how were you able to give Ms. Texera $400 a month if the car payment was taking up all of your money as well as the insurance?
I was paying her $400 a month last summer of 2005.
You didn't have a car?
And then I did.
So you weren't paying for a car then?
Yeah, yes, I was.
You get where I'm going?
Yes. I
Now,
wasn't
you
paying
moved
as
in with
much.
her in March. How long did you stay with her?
I was there until the last week of June.
And how much rent did you pay her?
She didn't ask me for anything.
Well, why do you think she wouldn't ask you for rent from March until June when you paid her, according to you, $400 a month when you lived there with her in the summertime? And if you were working?
Because I was trying to get on my feet and trying to save money to get my own place.
When did you leave?
The last week of June, she asked me to stay at my boyfriend's for the first week of July because she was going away on vacation, and that I could come back after she came back. When she came back, I went there, and that's when she told me I couldn't live there anymore.
Okay. And what stuff do you claim you left there?
I have clothes there, I have shoes, I have a cedar chest that I made in my senior year of high school, I have 2 cases of CDs, I have a radio there, I have blankets, I have backpacks there.
What do you have that belongs to her?
I have her CDs. I do have some blankets of hers. I don't believe there's any clothing. Her shoes were on a rack inside the room that she was staying in of mine. She took all that. She emptied the drawers. The only thing that she left with me is I have, I believe, her high school diploma. I have pictures, photo albums, and a couple backpacks that have things in it. If they have clothes, I'm not sure. I didn't go through her things. I moved everything down to the basement. I don't have room
And
to store.
it's all packed up and ready
It's all
for her?
packed up. She packed it up herself. I gave her several chances to come back and get it.
Did you charge her rent?
I asked her several times, and she didn't have the money to give me rent. And she was not working most of the time that she was with me.
That's not true.
Your Honor, I gave her money for cabs to go find a job. I gave her money for different things that she needed that she asked me for. I bought her food. She very seldom, a few times she bought groceries when she was going to cook something for herself if I wasn't home. Other than that, she had my food. She borrowed clothes of mine that she damaged. There was just so many things that I did for her that it's ridiculous.
You're still with the boyfriend?
Yes, I am.
Are you living with the boyfriend?
No, I'm not.
Who are you living with?
I'm staying with friends.
You pay rent?
No.
How old are you?
20.
Gotta grow up.
I'm trying to get on my feet and get an apartment. I'm saving money, and my friends know that.
Well, you know, that's very nice, but you can't always be on the receiving end of somebody else's charity, Miss Canberra.
Yes, I know.
You know, it's clear to me that you had issues with your father and your stepmother, and you've had issues now with your cousin. Go there and pick up your stuff.
I've tried. I've gone there.
5 days from today at noon, go there, pick up your stuff.
I've gone and tried getting it, and she's ignored me.
I asked her one day when I saw her if I could come up and get it. She said yes. I go up there, knock on her door. She ignores me. She said she was in the shower, that to come back in a few minutes. I went back. I then saw her run out to her car and get into her car and leave. I've had a cop go to the house with me. She told the cop that she didn't have my stuff, and when the cop left, that's when she said she did have my stuff, and my boyfriend was there to witness that.
Now she's going to give you your property 5 days from today. I will prepare an order. Do you understand?
Yes.
Just my own curiosity. Did the events of the fourth week in June come down the way that your cousin says they did?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
You want to tell me your version of that?
Sure. Kirsten, I had told her so many times I needed money. And then finally I was going away for 4th of July. So the first week of June I said to her, Kirsten, I'm giving you 4 weeks. I'm going away for 4th of July. If I don't receive any money, if you start helping me, you're going to have to leave. And she said, I know, I know. Right until the day that I left, Your Honor, she was still at the house. And I couldn't throw her out on the street. She had nowhere to go. Nobody else would take her in. I was the only one that was there for her twice. Twice, Your Honor. And I caught her stealing from me. She stole from my son's piggy bank. She stole money out of my car. There's just so many things that she's done to me. So I said, this is it. I can't do it anymore. I'm going away for 4th of July. I did not want anybody in my house. Her boyfriend was not allowed in the house, which she snuck him in without me knowing. That's a lie.
Quiet. Go ahead.
And I had told her, I'm not going to be responsible for you being in my house. You have 4 weeks to pack your things and leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
when I saw her, her hair was like really big.
No matter what we did with this hair, it's still fuzzed up.
So what do you want?
He told me it was Indian hair. He didn't put the right hair in my hair.
Did you tell her it was Indian hair?
Yes, I did.
Is it Indian hair?
Tex Sarah won't return belongings she left in her home.
Go ahead.
After vacation, I came home. Whatever was left of hers, she had come in the house and packed up. I did not give her a key to my house. She had a key to my house that she must have made on her own when she borrowed my car. So she came to my house. I had to call my landlord and change the locks. She had up until August to come and get her things. I gave her many opportunities. There were times that I told her to come by and get it, and then I was rushing. I worked 2 jobs. If I got called into work, I'd said, Carson, I'm not going to be there. There was the time that I was in the shower, and I said, Carson, I'm in the shower. I'll call you when I get out. But I was rushing to work. I didn't have time for her to come and get her things.
Got it. You gave her notice at the beginning of June.
4 weeks, Your Honor.
Fine.
No.
We'll prepare an order. 5 days from today at noon. Go and pick up your stuff, whatever stuff she has, and stop complaining. Grow up. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Prasad versus Michael. Step forward, please.
Donna Maria Prasad is suing hairstylist J.T. Michael for giving her a bad weave.
Ms. Prasad, according to the complaint, you had gone to the defendant's shop and had a hair weave done at the defendant's shop. I believe you did it for her. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you are dissatisfied with the result. You want your money back. How long have you been going to Mr. Michael's shop?
About 3 times.
Had you ever had extensions put in your hair before?
I hadn't had the weave before, no.
Did you get any references from anyone who had had Mr. Michael do work?
No, I just was satisfied when I was there before, so I thought he'd be okay.
And tell me why you're dissatisfied.
Well, I'm dissatisfied when he put the weave in. For one, it was sloppy. Tracks were falling out within a day. You could see the hair. There's like a puddle in the middle of my head where I had to wear the hair up just to hide it. Also, I had a question to whether the hair was real Indian hair or not. When I saw the style that I liked, he had recommended for me to get this Indian hair, which was $200. He said it was very good hair, human hair, and that I'd be able to use it over and over again. The first day he put it in, it was nappy, it was fuzzy. He didn't style it the way I liked it at all. And then he told me to come back next week and that he would fix it, and he didn't.
You mean you came back and he didn't fix it to your liking?
No, I came back the next week and he said he would dye it, because matter of fact, the hair that was ordered was brown. And I didn't understand why he did that whenever he just dyed my hair jet black.
So what do you want?
Well, I believe this is not the right Indian hair. I was frauded. I feel like I was deceived and I want my money back.
Well, you're not going to get it back. You're not satisfied with the service. You don't go back.
He told me it was Indian hair. He didn't put the right hair in my hair.
Did you tell her it was Indian hair?
Yes, I did.
Is it Indian hair?
Yes, it is.
How long have you been a hairdresser?
For about 30 years.
Do you know where you got this hair from?
Yes, I do.
And as far as you know, it's Indian hair.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any proof that it's not?
Yeah, I have my hairdresser here.
Good.
With
Stand
me.
up. Over there. Tell me your name.
Jocelyn Jones.
How long have you been a hairdresser?
For about 11 years.
Do you do weaving?
Yes, I do.
Did Miss Prasad show you her hair?
Yes.
Have you ever ordered Indian hair?
Yes.
What's the difference between Indian hair and non-Indian hair?
Okay. This hair is not 100% human Indian hair. It's mixed with something other than this. And why I say that is because this is so easy. You can put your hand through it. And on this hair.
That's what came out of her hair?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had to separate the weft. And what I mean by that is that this is a weft right here, and I had to separate. I had to cut it with a razor so it could be thinner, because when I saw her, her hair was like really big, and normally the hair would just hang.
On what date did you put this hair in?
I believe it was sometime in April. She had scheduled a few appointments
April
at my
what?
salon.
April 8th.
What date did you see your witness?
I saw her a week later.
Did she do any work on your hair?
She just told me that she would help me redo my hair because it was a mess.
And did she redo it?
She did redo it.
Tell me what you did to redo her hair.
When Donna came in, I took the hair out.
All the hair?
Yes. And I cut the weft, I sewed it back in, and I flat ironed it.
Was she satisfied after that?
No.
Why weren't you satisfied with it after she did it?
Because no matter what we did with this hair, it's still fuzzed up. In order for me to wear it, I had to wet it completely throughout the day. And if I paid $200 for this hair, I don't believe that's how it should happen. He didn't tell me it was like that. He said it'd be nice, good hair that I could use over and over.
Who took it out finally?
I did, because I couldn't wear it like that.
And do you have extensions in your hair now?
Yes, I do.
Who put them in? Almost not an answer.
African braiding people did it for me. Ebony and Ivory.
How much did you pay them?
$200.
When?
Hello my dear friends, how are you? I hope you are best. Welcome to my channel. My topic today about what is the application software. I am complete guide you about it. But first of all, if you are new, so please subscribe my channel, press the bell icon, and start my topic about application software. Application software is any computer program is intended for end user use, not operating, administering or programming the computer. An application, app application, program, software application, and in any program that can be categorized as application software. Common types of application include word processor, media player, and accounting software. The term application software refers to all applications collectively and can be used to differentiate from system and utility software. Applications may be bundled with the computer and its system software or published separately. Application may be proprietary or open source. The term app, coined in 1981 or earlier, became popular with the 2008 introduction of the iOS App Store to refer to applications for mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. Later, with the introduction of the Mac App Store in 2010 and Windows Store in 2011, the term was extended in popular use to include desktop applications. And its terminology. The delineation between system software such as operating system and application software is not exact, however, and is occasionally the object of controversy. For example, one of the key questions in the United States versus Microsoft Corp antitrust trial was whether Microsoft's Internet Explorer web browser was part of its Windows operating system of a separate piece of application software. As another example, the GNU Linux naming controversy is in part due to disagreement about the relationship between the Linux kernel and the operating system built over this kernel. In some types of embedded system in application software and the operating system software may be indistinguishable from the user. In any case of software used to control a VCR, DVD player, or operating system software may be indistinguishable for the user, or in the case of software used to control VCR, DVD player, or microwave oven. The above definition may exclude some applications that may be accessed on some computer in large organizations. For an alternative definition of an app, see the application portfolio management. When used as an adjective, application is not restricted to mean of or on application software. For example, concepts such as application programming interface, API, application server, application visualization, and application lifecycle management and portable application apply to all computer programs alike, not just application software. Killer app. Sometimes a new and popular application arises that only runs on one platform, that results in increasing the desirability of that platform. This is called a killer application or killer app. Coined in the late 1980s, for example, VisiCalc was the first modern spreadsheet software for the Apple II and helped sell to the new personal computer into offices for the BlackBerry. It was its email software and platform specific naming. Some applications are available for multiple while others only work and use task called for example a geography application for Microsoft Windows or an Android application for education or a Linux game and its classification. These are many different alternative ways of classify application software. From the legal point of view, application software is mainly classified with the black box approach about the rights of its end users for subscribers. When eventual intermediate and third subscription level software applications are also classified with respect to the programming language in which the source code is written or executed and concerning their purpose and outputs. So friends, how is my topic? I hope you like. So now you give me permission. I am go to my new topic. Take care and Allah Hafiz. Love you. Take care. Allah Hafiz.